She gave them everything, trusted them completely, and they repaid her by throwing her out like yesterday's trash. It was a Tuesday evening, the kind where storm clouds gather but never quite commit to rain. Sophia stood on the front steps of what had been her home for 3 years, clutching a backpack with her school notebooks and a change of clothes. Her key wouldn't work. She tried again, slower this time, then faster, flipping it like maybe the problem was her shaking hands. But it wasn't her. They'd changed the locks. She knocked once, then twice, then harder with her small fist. The door cracked open, and Marcus's girlfriend Ashley peered through the gap, eyebrows raised like she wasn't expecting company. "Oh, hey, you weren't supposed to be back from school until later." Sophia blinked. "Why can't I get inside?" Ashley hesitated, looking back over her shoulder. "I think Marcus was going to talk to you about that." "Talk to me about what?" "You don't live here anymore." The words hit like ice water. Sophia gripped her backpack straps tighter, suddenly unsure what to do with herself. "What did you just say?" Ashley gave that nervous smile people use when they're pretending everything's normal. "Look, it's just paperwork stuff. Nothing personal. Marcus said you understood about the guardianship transfer." "I what?" "He said you signed a few weeks ago. Remember? All those documents at the kitchen table." Sophia stared, and slowly it clicked. The forms. The way Marcus brushed off her questions. Told her it was just school stuff, college prep paperwork. "This will help secure your future," he'd said. She had trusted him. She had trusted her guardian, and now her hands were shaking. Ashley didn't wait for more questions. She slipped back inside, muttering something about calling Marcus. The door shut again, locked again. Sophia stood there for 5 minutes, then 10. Nobody opened the door. She didn't knock again. She just walked down the steps, slow and confused, that backpack feeling heavier with each step. But Marcus hadn't just taken her home. He'd taken something deeper. And Sophia was about to remember exactly who she was. Long before any of this, before the paperwork, before Ashley, before her front porch became forbidden territory. Back in 2019, Sophia was 8 years old, living in her 4th foster home in 2 years. Her parents had died in a car accident when she was 6, leaving behind a beautiful little girl with dark curls and eyes that had seen too much too soon. Marcus Rivera worked as a social worker then. Fresh out of graduate school, idealistic about changing the system from within, he met Sophia during a routine check-in at the Hendersons' house, where she sat quietly in the corner, reading a book that was clearly too advanced for her age. The Hendersons were nice enough, but they had 3 other foster kids and limited patience. Sophia was a quiet one, the one who didn't cause trouble but also didn't quite fit in. Something about her stuck with Marcus. Maybe it was how she thanked him for bringing coloring books, or how she asked if he knew when she might find a forever family. When the Hendersons said they couldn't handle 4 kids anymore, Marcus made a decision that surprised everyone, including himself. He applied to become her guardian. Marcus gave Sophia everything he never had growing up. A bedroom painted her favorite color, purple. Art supplies when she showed interest in drawing. Piano lessons when she hummed melodies. He attended every school conference, helped with homework, taught her how to braid her hair and how to stand up for herself without being mean. When Sophia had nightmares about her parents, Marcus would sit by her bed until she fell back asleep. When kids at school asked why she lived with someone who wasn't her real dad, he taught her to say, "Family isn't just about blood. It's about who shows up." But as Sophia grew older, things began to change. By middle school, Marcus had moved up in his career, making more money but working longer hours. He started dating Ashley, a real estate agent who smiled a lot, but always seemed to be calculating something behind her eyes. The house felt different with Ashley around. Conversations became quieter when Sophia entered the room. Marcus started talking about securing Sophia's future and building a foundation for when she turns 18. Then came the papers. It was a Saturday morning when Marcus first brought out the documents. Sophia was at the kitchen table working on a history project about the civil rights movement, her notebook spread across the surface. "Hey, kiddo, we need to take care of some paperwork," Marcus said, sliding a folder across the table. "Nothing serious, just some legal stuff to make sure you're protected." Ashley chimed in from the living room, not looking up from her laptop. "It's standard guardianship documentation, sweetie. Just updating some things now that you're getting older." Sophia looked at the papers. The words swam together. Trust documents, beneficiary transfers, guardianship modifications. What does this all mean? Marcus smiled, that reassuring smile she'd known for years. Just boring adult stuff. "See, I highlighted where you need to sign. Don't worry about reading all the fine print. I already went over everything with the lawyers. She hesitated. Something felt off, but this was Marcus, the man who taught her to drive in empty parking lots even though she was only 14. The one who stayed up all night when she had pneumonia. The one who promised he'd never let anyone hurt her again. So she signed, page after page. Marcus even joked as she scribbled her name. "Look at you, handling business like a grown-up." She laughed, just a little puff of air, but something twisted in her stomach. That feeling stuck with her for weeks. The sound of the pen clicking. Ashley's satisfied smile. The way Marcus avoided her eyes when he gathered up the papers. What Sophia didn't know was that her parents hadn't just left behind memories and photographs. Before their death, they had won a significant lawsuit against a pharmaceutical company for a medication that had caused serious health problems. The settlement, $12 million, had been placed in a trust for Sophia, accessible when she turned 18. The trust was managed by her parents' attorney, an elderly man named Harold Winters, who had been trying to contact Sophia for months. But Marcus had intercepted every letter, every phone call, every attempt at communication. Marcus knew about the money, had known for 2 years. And slowly, methodically, he had been positioning himself to control it. The night Sophia was locked out, she slept in the public library parking lot, wrapped in her jacket. The security guard found her in the morning, a 16-year-old girl with nowhere to go and a story that sounded impossible. "My guardian changed the locks," she told the police officer. "I don't understand what happened." The officer, Maria Santos, had seen cases like this before. Something about Sophia's confusion, her genuine shock, set off alarm bells. "Honey, do you have anywhere else to go? Any other family?" Sophia shook her head, then remembered something. "There's a lawyer, my parents' lawyer." He kept trying to call, but Marcus always said it was just routine stuff. Officer Santos helped Sophia find Harold Winters' contact information. When they called, the elderly attorney's voice was both relieved and concerned. "Sophia, I've been trying to reach you for months. We need to talk. Today." Harold Winters' office was in an old building downtown, filled with law books and the smell of coffee that had been brewing too long. When Sophia walked in, still carrying her backpack, Harold's face creased with worry. "Sit down, child. I have some things to tell you." He explained about the trust, about the money her parents had left her, about Marcus's role as temporary guardian, not permanent owner of her life. $12 million? Sophia whispered. "Your parents sued Morrison Pharmaceuticals after your mother developed serious complications from a medication. They won, but they died before they could see the settlement. It's been waiting for you." Sophia stared at the documents Harold spread across his desk. Her parents' names, her name, amounts that didn't seem real. "But Marcus said the papers were just to protect me." Harold's jaw tightened. "Those papers transferred guardianship rights and gave him power of attorney over your trust. If you signed them without understanding what they were, that's fraud." Harold didn't waste time. Within a week, he had filed motions to investigate the guardianship transfer and to freeze any attempts Marcus might make to access Sophia's trust. Meanwhile, Sophia stayed with the Santos family. Officer Maria had 2 daughters and a spare bedroom, and something about Sophia reminded her of her own kids. Smart, resilient, deserving better than what life had handed her. The legal battle was swift. Marcus had made one crucial error. He had documented everything. Emails to Ashley about the windfall, text messages about finally being set, bank records showing he had already tried to access preliminary funds. When the court date arrived, Marcus showed up in an expensive suit with a lawyer Sophia didn't recognize. But Harold Winters had been practicing law for 40 years, and he came armed with evidence that painted a clear picture of manipulation and fraud. "Your Honor," Harold said, "this 16-year-old girl was deceived into signing documents that would have stolen her entire inheritance. The defendant exploited his position of trust to commit what amounts to theft." The judge reviewed the evidence, listened to Sophia's testimony about the papers she'd signed without understanding, and made his decision quickly. The guardianship transfer is voided. All documents signed under false pretenses are invalid. Miss Sophia will be placed with temporary state custody until she turns 18, at which point she'll have full access to her trust. Marcus never spoke to her again. He moved to another state. Ashley disappeared, and the house where Sophia had lived for 3 years was sold to pay legal fees. At 18, Sophia stood in Harold Winters' office again, but this time everything was different. She was older, wiser, and about to inherit more money than most people see in a lifetime. "What will you do?" Harold asked. Sophia had been thinking about this question for 2 years. She thought about the foster system that had failed her, about kids like her who had no advocates, no guardians looking out for their best interests. "I want to start a foundation," she said, "for kids aging out of foster care. Legal aid, housing assistance, education funding. Everything I wish I'd had." She called it the Tomorrow Foundation, and within 5 years, it had helped over 500 young people transition out of the foster system with dignity and support. On her 21st birthday, Sophia received a letter with no return address. The handwriting was familiar. "Sophia, I know I don't have the right to contact you. I know what I did was wrong. I told myself I was protecting you, preparing for your future, but I was really protecting myself. I was scared of losing you when you turned 18, scared of being alone again. I thought if I controlled the money, I could control our relationship. I see now how selfish that was. You deserve the truth. You deserve better than what I gave you. I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to know that you were the best thing that ever happened to me. And I'm sorry I wasn't worthy of being the best thing that happened to you." Marcus Sophia read the letter twice, then filed away in a folder with her other legal documents. Not because she wanted to forget, but because some things are meant to be remembered without being relived. She didn't write back. She didn't need to. Today, Sophia runs her foundation from a modest office in downtown Portland. The walls are covered with photos. Kids she's helped, young adults who graduated college with Tomorrow Foundation scholarships, families who found stability through their programs. She keeps a picture of her parents on her desk, next to a photo of herself at 8 years old, reading that book in the Hendersons' living room. Sometimes she wonders what would have happened if Marcus had just been honest, if he had loved her enough to let her grow up knowing the truth. But she's learned something important. You can love someone, trust them completely, give them everything, and still lose them, not because of who you were, but because of who they chose to be. And that's not your shame to carry. Real family doesn't steal from you. Real love doesn't need to deceive to survive. And real power doesn't announce itself. It builds quietly, helping others, making sure the next generation has what you never did. Sophia is 24 now, unmarried, focused on her work. She has enough money to live comfortably for 10 lifetimes, but she drives a used Honda and lives in a one-bedroom apartment because she learned early that home isn't about how much you own. It's about who you trust to hold your heart. And these days, she trusts herself most of all. If this story resonates with you, if it reminds you of someone who found strength in betrayal or hope after heartbreak, share it. Remember, real love can't be stolen, real family doesn't deceive, and real power builds others up instead of tearing them down.